Just for anyone joining it again, I'm Josh, community manager here at FuturLab, and joined by Nick, designer. We're just going to be talking about map design, level design, that sort of thing, and also about the community map vote. So for people who haven't seen, we're reopening another vote for levels for us to make based on your suggestions. We did this, I think it actually started in June 2021, the original suggestions did, and then ended sort of August, maybe, last year. And those levels came out eventually in May. And in the same way, there's that this voting process will go on for a while, and then the design and creation of the levels, which I'm sure Nick can give more insight on, does take a long time. So in the same way, we've got a lot of levels we're working on in the background that we can't talk about yet, but there's definitely a lot of exciting stuff coming. Don't know.
It's super exciting stuff.
Super exciting.
I can't wait for you guys to see it. I think you're going to be blown away.
Yeah.
I'm having so much fun working on the new levels. Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see them.
Are you working on all of them, or is it the same way? You just got
the design. Cool. We're a very sort of collaborative team. We're all sort of like getting each other's thoughts on things and iterating and making them better every day. So yeah, we're all working across all of the new levels. Yeah.
So you jumped into talking about this level a little bit. I don't know if you want to. So in this level, what was your input, your process on this particular? I called it the finger level, but it's not.
Let's talk about the process of how a PowerWash level gets made. So of course it starts with an idea. I had a look at the Discord before, and I can already see a bunch of really good ideas. I love level ideas for PowerWash. I think one of the really great things about this game is just about anything you can think of can be made dirty and washed. So it's always a lot of fun thinking about what kinds of things could be washed and what would be fun to wash. Once we have a good idea, it sort of goes through a process of working out just how suitable it would be for PowerWash as a game. This hand, for example, this ancient hand that we made, this could have been done in a number of different ways. You could almost imagine it to have just been one very large object to clean, but you can see we had to make decisions like putting all these cracks and crevices in to split things out. We want people to have those sort of satisfying things as they make their way around the job. So when we're considering what job might be suitable for PowerWash Simulator, those are the things we have to think about. We have to think about how would you break it up into multiple parts? Can it be broken up into multiple parts? With a building, it's often quite simple because you can split it up into its doors and its windows and its walls and roof and all that. But when you get into the more abstract areas like this job, we have to try and think about smart ways that we can split things up and allow people to have sort of a satisfying progression through the levels. So once we've sort of gone through that process of figuring out how suitable a job would be for our game, we have to think about stuff, like how it can be split up, and have to think about the size of it. We are unfortunately limited sometimes. We can't wash things that are humongously large. We do want to make sure this game works and has crispy frame rates and is nice to play, so we can't make things that are gargantuan in size as well. And once we've found an object or a location or a vehicle that we think would bring something new to the game and be a satisfying thing to wash, then we sort of put together a pitch for our artists of what we would like, and that's sometimes just finding reference, looking online, finding some good real world examples of what this thing might look like. For example, I think I was one of the first, the skate park was my idea. So I sort of found a bunch of reference and found some features that I think might be good. Hey, hit me in the face. Once I was happy with the reference, I even then took it into a 3D program and just like sort of blocked out roughly what I would like the skate park to look like. Just sort of making some basic ramps and shapes and sort of labeling them. Just giving, the more that I can give the artist to work off, the better, right? So it goes, yeah. So once I was sort of happy with the block out, happy with my reference, I give all of that information to the artist, and then they work their magic and make it into a sort of a something that's more real, something that has like material, color. They iterate on my basic shapes and sort of make them more detailed, and once the artist is happy with their sort of more finalized version of the object, then they bring it back to us, and we start to look at the size of the space. We sort of get it into Engine, into Unity, and we start to run around it and just see how it feels as a job. At this point, it won't have any dirt on it, but we'll sort of like run around and pretend and wash it as though it's got dirt
It's
on it.
like
And
wash role play.
yeah,
did you do the sounds as well?
Sort of imagine like, yeah, like, this part's a nice flat wall. This would be fun. This part's got a few more like angles and shapes that you need to get into. Maybe we need to simplify that. We do a lot of simplifying and altering of geometry. Like an example of it in this level is like, if you look really close in the cracks, you can see it's kind of like a V shape. That is deliberate. Because it's a V shape, we make sure that people are able to hit it with their washer and wash both surfaces, rather than if there was an odd angle or a bit of hidden geometry, it would make it much more frustrating to wash. So once the artist has done their initial pass, there's this lengthy process of sort of refining the level and refining the angles to make sure that every little surface and detail can be reached. And if it can't be reached, then it might just be the case that we don't put dirt there, and we try to make sure the threshold is suited so that you can clean it in a suitable amount of time. So we go through that process with art. Once art and design are happy with the level, the way it looks, then design goes through a breakdown process, which involves splitting things up. It might be good to... Can we go to the fishing boat level?
Yeah, of course. We'll go
Yeah.
across. It's in vehicles. Fishing boat,
Have a
let's
look
go.
at the chat, see what people
Okay.
are saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people are just listening.
I saw somebody say, "Am I an Aussie?" And yes, I'm an Aussie.
Just out of curiosity, what I think you said about a 3D program you personally use to block things out. Do you do that in Unity, or do you use like Blender or something?
Yeah,
personally?
Unity has some tools that help you block things out. So yeah, sometimes it is just like creating a very basic test scene in Unity, and then just creating some basic gray shapes, blocks, triangles, angles, all that. And but yeah, I've also used stuff like Blender and Maya. Sometimes when you want to go into a bit more detail, you might jump into a program like that. So the reason I wanted to come here is to look at just the way things are split up. So you can see like we've got this sort of red edge that I'm washing now. This is called a gun whale. Before I worked on PowerWash Simulator, I did not know what a gun whale was. And that is essentially, so that's the next step in the process, is design looks at the finished sort of, in this case, fishing boat object, and we go through a lengthy process of figuring out what everything on this object is called. So gun whales, decks, windows, and sometimes it gets a bit more detailed than that. You'll notice that these windows aren't just called windows, they're called cabin windows. We make those distinctions to help people find where things are. So we could have just as easily have called that just a window, but we want to help people navigate around. We know that towards the end of a job, it becomes a bit of a hunt to like find those last couple things that you've missed out. So we do try to really do our best to sort of consider what everything could be called, should be called, and do this like breakdown document where we label every single thing in this case fishing boat, and then pass that back to the artist. The artist then implements that breakdown, so they will then sort of like cut up the fishing boat rather than just being one big unified object. They separate it into a bunch of individual objects, which allows you to wash them. That's why when you wash a window and it dings, that's why it dings, because it's a separate, its own individual object within the scene.
On the names, that has guess been refined during early access, because you went back and looked at a lot of the objects to make them more accurate or obvious.
Yeah, we certainly have iterated on. I know we did a few. We redid a few of the early levels because we just weren't happy with the way that they'd been broken up, or we weren't happy with the designs. I know, like the storybook cottage and the backyard saw a little bit of iteration. We did second versions of those levels to fix up some of that stuff. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of the process, because it's really fun. Like, it's sort of like overnight I have to become an expert on boats and all things boats, and then the next day I'll be working on like the private plane level, and I have to become an expert on all things aeronautics and those little flaps behind the wings. What are they called? I don't know. I guess I'll have to find out. Like, it's a really fun research process of working out how to label everything. And so once that breakdown has been implemented, the artists are then able to sort of set the object or the location up for it to be for us to put dirt on it. And once that's done, then design does a pass where we put all the dirt on an object. We do a first we have these dirt painting tools where we're able to cover everything and all different types of dirt. The system.
Sorry, I just jump in there. If you go to the FuturLab channel or look at one of the old PowerWash trailers, you can see like the basic. They were like the basic dirt that I think at the time Dave put on the levels. That was just, it was there just slapped on. It wasn't. There was, I don't think there was any much design passes on the dirt that was in there, or I'd used the tool to just slap some dirt on something so we could get footage for a trailer when the first early access trailer went out, maybe in May. It was May in 2021. Just so anyone's curious, and we do actually have an older devlog showing the tool in action, I think. Sorry to interrupt you, Nick. Just thought you can go see that in action if you really wanted to.
Yeah. So that's fine. A little bit more behind the scenes on it is we have kind of like a 3-layer system. So everything in each level has the potential to have 3 different types of dirt on it. I think, for example, on the deck of this boat, I can see some little specks of mold. We've got the grime, which is that sort of black layer. And then we've got maybe looks like some mud or maybe some grime stains. So those 3 dirt types work together to sort of like create the effect that you can see. And so as you can imagine, 3 different layers of dirt, probably 100 or more so objects on this fishing boat. It's quite a process of going through and putting what we call a palette on every single object and covering it with varying levels of dirt. You can see we've got all these fun details like boot prints and streaks down the sides of the walls and stuff. And the main intention with design in that first pass is just to give the artists something to work off. So obviously, I'm sure as you're all aware, there are some dirt types that are harder than others. We have things like rust, or in this level, if we jump down here, Josh, we have barnacles, which are quite tough to remove. It's really important for design to sort of like put these things where we want them to be. We don't want to overload people with too much rust and too many barnacles, too many hard things to clean. So yeah, that design pass is really there for us to convey to the artists what kinds of dirts we want on the object and where we want them. And then again, the artists take the level and do their magic and use all of their wonderful experience in color theory and just aesthetic design and stuff like that, and they do an art pass on the dirt. So they make it look pretty. They add lots of the fun details, like those boot prints. I don't think design would have put those boot prints on. That's definitely the kind of detail I'd expect from our wonderful art team. They blend it really well. There's a lot of blending going on here on the deck. So the artists are really good at sort of making the dirt look good together.
Well, you said earlier about the each object having a palette. I mean, this is me just asking a question. Does the palette have to be the same of something touching that individual object, or are they all individual?
It doesn't necessarily have to be, but that's usually a good common sense rule. Like things that are next to each other might have the same palettes. Maybe the palette won't be exactly the same, but they'll share like 2 out of the 3 dirt types. Like you might have like mold, grime, and like dirt streaks on something, and then the thing next to that might have grime, dirt streaks, and something else. Certainly things often that are next to each other do have similar palettes and stuff, but sometimes you want to put different stuff on, like the barnacles on the outside of the boat and bits of mold and stains. And it's again, it's a fun process. It's fun to kind of art presents us with these like beautiful, pristine looking locations and objects, and we kind of get to have some fun just kind of mucking them up and making them as dirty and grimy as we can, to give you guys that fun experience of revealing that object hidden within, central to the experience of PowerWash. So it's fun. And then once art have finished their art pass, and with a bit of back and forth iteration, all that, the level is almost done. Then the level has kind of achieved its final look and vibe and feel, and then design takes the level back and we start to work out the thresholds. So threshold setup involves going around each individual object, each window, each door, each wall, and deciding where and when it should pop and be considered clean. So with something that's quite large, like this cabin object, which sort of runs all the way around, I'm sort of washing it now. It's a lot. It's a big object. It's got a lot of dirt on it. So something like that might have a threshold of like 1% or less. It might be 0.1%, just so that you essentially need to get every single little bit of dirt on this object for it to be considered clean. Other objects that are smaller, like the windows, we sort of recognize these as objects that you don't want to spend too much time on. Like if we look really close, did you just wash it? Yeah, that's fine. But if you look really close, you can see this has kind of got like a little underside edge that I'm washing now. It's got these little side edges. Like these are little surfaces where dirt can hide, and we're very sensitive to the fact that we don't want to like frustrate people. We don't want them to have to linger on an object longer than they should. So those we might be a bit more modest with the thresholds, and give it something like a 5% or a 10%. So you only have to clean 90% of the dirt on that object for it to ding and be considered clean. Thresholds are something that we're always looking at. We're always trying to make them better. People have different washing styles, and that just means that people have different experiences with how they wash things. Some people are very experienced, methodical. Some people would notice that these windows have these little edges and sort of do what I'm doing now, like really carefully hit the edges, jump and hit the top, and get all of that dirt. But some other players are just might not notice that there's going to be a little slither of dirt like along the top of this window. So we have to try and balance things in a way that is suitable for both kinds of players. And as I said, we're always looking at thresholds. We're always trying to make them better. Us designers sort of we test these levels over and over, and sometimes like my experience will be completely different to one of the other designers' experience, and we sort of try and find a nice middle ground, try to set the thresholds up in a way that is good for everybody.
Did QA come back with some suggestions too on that? Once the level is in a really nice playable state, QA has a go as well, and again, that's a different person having a different experience with the same level, and they'll sometimes flag certain things that they're not able to wash, and where we might ease the thresholds there, and so we do have, of course, QA testing the levels as well to try and figure out how these levels feel to play, and once the thresholds are done, we start to look at everything outside of the object itself. One of our artists, Dennis, did this wonderful sort of town, seaside town around the boat. I love this town so much. It's one of my favorite parts of the game. It does.
You got all the cats.
It's really cool to use the dev hacks to get outside of here, because the town is actually pretty much fully modeled all the way up.
Yeah,
it looks a bit weird, but you can still tell that like all the houses are there and stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. So once the object is in a pretty good place, the artists start to work out what the outside environment should look like, and as well as that, we start to think about what kind of equipment the job needs, like ladders, stools, scaffolding. One of our artists, Andre, did like a amazing job just building this custom sort of scaffolding for this fishing boat level. We knew that I think this we knew that people would want to get some odd angles on this, and it's quite a big object, so having this custom scaffolding is great, and it also sort of gives us the flexibility to put something else in here potentially in the future, and when we make some new levels, and reuse it. So thinking about the outside environment, thinking about the equipment. Then we have some extra little steps as well, like throwing a gnome in the level somewhere, and which we love doing, and there's a few extra things in there as well, I'm sure, that I'm not thinking of, but
if I remember this level correctly during development, this scaffolding was actually like a layer higher, like you could go another level up. I don't know when that changed, but I just remember playing an earlier build of it where
it might have had 3 layers. I think you're right. I think we just decided that the 2 was enough, and that it was better just to let people run up sort of one staircase rather than expecting them to sort of run back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to get up the top.
That's something I would never have considered, and why I'm not a designer.
But yes, I'm trying to think what else. So once the thresholds are done, the environment's done, the level is looking good. We've added all the equipment that you need to complete the level. There's a bunch of extra steps, like of course with getting it sort of linked in with everything else, like deciding when you unlock the job, what's the thumbnail for the job, where do we put the time-lapse camera for the job. There's a bunch of little extra steps that are in there as well, but for the most part, that is the process of getting these levels together. It takes time. We really try our best to put a lot of love and care into how these levels are put together. So I know the whole team like really appreciates our players' patience when it comes to coming up with new levels, but just know, like, from my point of view at least, like, you know, we're working on these levels every day, and like we're trying to get them like feeling right, looking right, and really fun to play. So again, I can't wait for you guys to play all the new levels when they eventually come out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, I think that's probably something people don't see, that there's like a string of levels, I guess, being made in the background all of the time. So whilst they're not quite ready, there's like a lot through different stages of what you've just discussed, like, and they're all sort of going in tandem / lining up behind each other, I guess.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff going on in the background. I've mentioned a lot of art and design, but like the programmers are central to all of these processes as well, to making sure like we have all of the functionality we need for our dirt tools, to making sure that the level can actually be played and that it like works. And yeah, like I'm even, as we sort of look around again, I'm thinking of like extra things we do. Like I'm pretty sure the early version of this level might not have had this catch box. I wonder if you can guess, Josh, like why it's here.
Is this the reason?
Yeah, that's the exact reason. Yeah. We do obviously have things like ladders and stools and scaffolding to help people get around a level, but we also recognize that people like to just jump around and sort of navigate it without having to use the equipment. So we do try to always, where possible, provide players with a means of navigating around a level and jumping up to access things that they can't quite get to. Yeah. Oh, I had another point. Another thing that the programmers do, and the artists as well, it's really important, is for levels like the carousel and the big wheel. They sort of work together to set up the animations and the ability to turn those things on and off. And I really love those levels. So I'm very stoked that we were able to get those sort of moving levels in the game, being able to just like sit there while the scaffolding moves around and around is really special. So I'm glad that we're able to do that.
Because you worked on the Ferris wheel?
I worked on the Ferris wheel and the carousel.
Oh, okay.
I did a lot on the big wheel. I remember I did the design dirt pass on that. And should we go there?
Yeah, we can do. I think the carousel in the community is definitely not the carousel. Sorry, the Ferris wheel is love and hate. I think people that love the concept absolutely love this level, and then people that are like trying to parkour between the three, like all of the different things and switching it on and off all the time, are probably like the opposite end of the spectrum. Whereas the carousel, I think people like it as, I think the music is maybe something that people don't like when it's on, potentially.
Yeah. I totally understand and respect the sort of the love-hate relationship with some of the levels in PowerWash. For me, I think that like it's important to have levels that you love and that you hate. Just because every level is providing something different. Like I said, it's really important to us that each level in PowerWash is providing something new for people and allowing them to wash something that's a bit different, something that they haven't seen before. And so, of course, there's going to be levels that you like more than others. But the opposite end of that spectrum is that if everything was just kind of like flat walls and flat floors, I just don't think the game would nearly be as interesting. So, yeah, the big wheel is a tough level. It moves. It's got lots of little angles that you need to hit, but I hope that gives people that even more that like added amount of satisfaction and achievement when they complete it. It is a mammoth of a task to complete this job, and I truly respect any player that takes the time to do it. And you should, you really should be proud if you're able to sort of stick it out and complete a level like this, because it is tough. It's made to be tough. It's sort of, in that sort of like mid to latter third of the game, we wanted to test people. We wanted to see how good they were, and hey, people finish it. People got through it, and
it's still not like an Elden Ring boss, though, right? It's not like it's not like you can't. It's not like it's the technical challenge of the level. Like there's more complexity, but you're not having to reassess all of your skills. Like you're still just power washing, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. Like you can never fail, right? Like I think one of the really special things about PowerWash is that you're able to you're always making progress, no matter what. Like as slow or as fast as you clean, as accurate or as casual of a player as you are, you're always making progress. Like Josh and I are just like idly chatting and just randomly spraying things and just not really putting too much thought and effort into the technique of how we're doing things, but eventually we would complete it, and I kind of love that about the game, that
after
like
quite a
you
few
can take
hours
it at your own pace. And yeah. One of the reasons I wanted to come here was just to talk about one of the design decisions we made on this. If you come and have a look at it, like originally it was just all beams. You can see the big sort of like
star.
I'm washing them now. The big what do we call them? Spokes of the Ferris wheel. Originally it was just all spokes and there was no star in the middle. That was an idea that I had, just to kind of add more surface area to this job and make it feel like you actually had something chunky to wash, something that wasn't just these skinny sort of poles and spokes that wrap around it. So I don't know if there's a Ferris wheel out there that looks exactly like this, but
would the physics
like maybe
work?
something like that in the middle would be like a little bit too like heavy in real life.
Yeah,
or something.
I was thinking that would this actually collapse in real life? Is this
I think it makes the job more fun, and like especially when you get up on a scaffolding, and you can sort of mimic some of the same sort of satisfaction you get in something like the carousel, where you can just sort of come up here and just like wash it and just let it kind of like make its way around without having to move too much. You can just sit here and let all those wonderful light bulbs reveal themselves, and yeah, I think it adds a lot to the job, and I'm really glad we're able to get that in.
What does chat think, out of curiosity? If this level was only beams, so the star piece wasn't in the center and it was only thin beams, and you're trying to snipe it, how would you have felt about that level? Would you have still gave PowerWash Simulator a thumbs up on Steam or / Xbox reviews if that had happened?
Yeah, just so somebody say they like stood at the bottom and let it pass them. Yeah, that's totally valid as well. Yeah, I and that's why I'm glad that this feature is like here, because if we didn't have this big star in the middle, you wouldn't get that experience of getting to kind of like watch it come like sort of move past you while you're just kind of standing there and washing in the one spot.
Real Verity says, I like the star, thanks, in capital letters.
Oh no. I'm glad.
Julie says as long as they could have climbed around on it, they'd be fine. Yeah, it's an interesting point that you made earlier, though. That this is, I guess, a hybrid between like being too fine, and having some flat surfaces, like we did a poll ages ago, and which levels people like most, and the skate park was like by far and above, like rated 10 out of 10, like a ridiculous high rate. And there were like 3,000 people that took part in that survey, so I guess we knew that was quite popular, but and like you were saying earlier, you had to break those parts up, and not everybody loves that. Like I've seen a lot of people say that the subway is not their favorite, or other levels with a lot of flat surfaces aren't their favorite. Just different taste.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of I've definitely seen that different players like different things. Some people, I see some people just like always asking for bigger. They want a bigger level. They want to wash a skyscraper. They want to wash the entire Earth, if they could. And then other players, they want smaller jobs like vehicles and stuff they can manage. And so we try to do both. I really appreciate that people like the skate park. We're definitely very aware that like flat, bright surfaces are something that people really like to wash. But as I said a little earlier, I think that that if the game was all flat, bright surfaces to wash, I think it would get it would lose its what's the right word for it? Like at some point it just wouldn't be as interesting anymore. That's why we like to add levels that add variation and add difficulty. We want people to be challenged. If you're a power washer, it is called PowerWash Simulator after all. If you're a power wash simulator in real life, you might take on a job, and it's not until you're actually in that job that you realize just how difficult that is. And again, I think that it really just adds to that sort of final satisfaction when you're able to get through it and complete it and feel that sense of achievement.
I don't know if we've quite taken the phrase power washing it. Oh wait, I think you said if you're a power wash simulator in real life. I think it is getting to that point though on social media where you see people talking about power washing, and it's always almost coupled with about, I wish I could do this in Power Wash Simulator.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is a tough job in real life. Like you're going with the elements, the weather. It takes time, more time than it does even in some of the bigger levels in here. Like you're still kind of speed running in a virtual sense. Like it is easier. There's no runaway. There's no splashback.
Yeah, no runoff. Yeah, I think our nozzles are maybe like a little generous. Like I think a real life power washer, you might have like something equivalent to the turbo nozzle, and like that's kind of it. So we like giving people the flexibility of the game to kind of wash how they want to wash and use what they want to use. And yeah,
you were saying, I can't remember what I was going to say now. I had a point. I can't remember what I was going to say. Something interesting. Oh, I was just going to say, would you say level design is like far above like the majority of your job as a designer on Power Wash? I mean, I'd like, is most of your time spent on the level design aspect of design, like the passes and the work on the levels, like if you got like between like game mechanics, versus
it's honestly kind of evenly split into each of those stages. Like that stage of like coming up with a level and coming up with a really strong sort of pitch for what we want to make. That is something that to be fair, that's something that can sometimes happen quite quickly. Other times we might have to spend more time considering it and working out what exactly we want to do. We certainly do spend a lot of time in the sort of the design dirt pass and the breakdown phase, trying to work out what everything's cold in the level and trying to decide what dirts we want to put on. Those kinds of steps can take a while because we want the job, you know, theoretically, we could just cover everything in black grime, and that would be it. But you know, we want to, as I said, love and care, right? TLC. We want each of these levels to give something new and different. And so sometimes we think, oh, it would be really cool if like we had this dirt type. So sometimes we'll get new dirt types made just for particular levels because we think it would look really cool with a particular kind of dirt and grime on it.
Would you class, like, I guess, I don't, just out of curiosity, like, would you class like the dirt design like separately to level design? I know like in other games, like level design might be like on an FPS game, it's like placement of objects to where people might cover or like fire from. Whereas I guess it's quite different in PowerWash Simulator, like the game mechanics are pretty much embedded within the levels or layered on top of them.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I very much see the dirt design as a central part of the level design, because the gameplay of PowerWash is the washing. So the level design of each job is the dirt, is what's setting you up to do the washing. As I was talking about earlier with deciding like how much rust and mold, and especially the harder dirt types, how much of those we want to put on, that's essentially it's comparable, right, to deciding where cover should be and how long a path or an alley might be in a more standard sort of game. Deciding how, where, what dirts are going to go in each level definitely is a huge part of the level design of each PowerWash job. Yeah.
Are there any other levels you might want to show anything off? Like
let me have a think.
Or you know what we could do? We could have a look at some of the ideas that have already come through, and you can weigh in. So essentially, if anyone hasn't seen it already, we're running a community map vote, which we did ages ago as well. But essentially, people can suggest ideas for levels for us to make in the future. And again, as we've been talking today, there's loads of levels that are being worked on currently that will be coming out between then, but those will be in a while. I think for context, the other one ended in like August last year, and the levels came out in May. Not to say that would be the time period, but if you do have any suggestions, there's a thread open. There's like a new forum opened inside of our Discord, PowerWash Simulator Discord. I think it's on here on Twitch if you want to jump to it, or wherever this stream ends up. There'll be links to it. And the design team will be taking a look at that at some point and shortlisting levels that are realistic for us to make and that are relatively popular. There's a way to vote on the Discord on level ideas you like. There's some in there I've seen that are like branded, which we couldn't do for these ones, but interesting nonetheless to see those ideas come through. Don't know if you want to have a look at them as well, Nick.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to say as well, I'm just sort of catching up on the chat a bit.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the nice messages some people are sending through.
Anything you want to answer in there? I don't know what everyone's saying.
Most recently, somebody asked how tall is the power washer. I believe the power washer is actually 2 meters tall, so they are quite tall.
That's like
I don't know what it is.
It's 6?
Yeah, 6 foot something.
Yeah, that's big.
So I don't know what's making you feel short. Maybe you're just a giant in real life.
Maybe. I mean, I think like field of view does change your perspective a lot if you tweak with the field of view settings. If you amp that up, you might feel a bit bigger / smaller.
Yeah, possibly. That's a good point. Yeah. Somebody said they hate the gum in the skate park. I know where you're coming from. It's a tough one to get rid of, especially earlier in the game. That's a kind of dirt type that I would love for us to like try again and do another pass on. But it's again it's sort of part of the process. We like to have some hard things to clean, some easy things to clean. So I think something like the bubblegum still has its place. Still deserves to be there. Any hints for future maps? No hints that we can
yeah,
share
we can't hint. We actually can't hint, so sorry, but you'll find out soon enough what is coming.
Yeah, they're really cool. That's all I'll say.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, I see some people talking about fall damage, like
yeah.
like I was talking earlier about just wanting people to have like a nice time playing the game. Certainly we could have added something like full damage, but like I think it's really central to PowerWash that like we just want you to have a good time and not have to worry about like breaking things and dying. And there's enough games out there where you have to worry about dying. And so I'm happy for PowerWash to be the exception in that case.
Oh no, my cat's gone
right.
wrong. Yeah.
Should we have a look at some of these?
Yeah. Let's have a
suggestions.
jump in. I mean, we just have to describe them because I don't want to open my Discord up yet on the stream just in case there's something in there. Not what I do. I might look at the Ferris wheel to add something interesting in the background. Wait, let's go.
Somebody's saying a food court. Yeah, I love that idea. The like interior of like some sort of like food restaurant and just having all kinds of like ketchup and mustard and all caked in dirt. Yeah, that's a really cool idea for sure. The challenge there would be like we have to think about stuff like think about like the chairs in a food court, and you think, are you going to be able to walk around those chairs and get underneath them? And because you're probably not going to be able to move them because we don't really have the ability to let you just kind of like pick up and move a bunch of things all at once. So we would have to think about what are the chairs going to look like. Maybe the place wouldn't have any chairs. Maybe it should just have like booths, because booths are more sort of like closed off where you can kind of hit every surface without having to get under or around things. So, and then if you wanted to include the kitchen in the restaurant as well, similar sorts of issues, right? I'd start to think about like fryers and all the sorts of appliances that you might see in a kitchen, and would those be satisfying to clean? Would you be able to get around them and in them and clean all those things without too much difficulty? So yeah, on the surface, great idea, and I could definitely see us doing something like that in the future. But there's a lot of questions there, a lot of sort of design and art decisions we would have to make about how we would put together a level like that. To make sure that everything's all washable and nice and easy to clean. A Mars base, that's cool. I like the idea of exploring the cosmos a bit more in PowerWash. We do really like sort of Muckingham and keeping the game sort of familiar and grounded, but that's not to say that there isn't some room to take things sort of out of this world occasionally. So,
it's interesting because that level has like low gravity and like other thing, like it has like the animated drone and stuff. Like it has quite a few things that make it quite unique. But then that's only pretty much in that level, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we had to, right? It's fun. It's fun to let people hop around and jump, and yeah. Just makes it better. Something like lowering the gravity is quite an easy sort of toggle to change, so it's an easy win to let people do something.
Did you work on the rover, or
no? I didn't do much work on that. No.
If I remember, that's the it was based on the actual NASA model of the rover, right?
It might have been. We might, yeah.
Oh, I just kicked you out by accident. I went on the rover.
I can see the next two ideas I can sort of answer together: the funeral home and the cave system with mandatory crouching involved.
Mandatory crouching, wow.
So, as I was kind of saying before, we want PowerWash to be a positive experience, and having something like a funeral home, something that reminds people of something like death. I'm having something like a cave system where you're kind of stuck crouching and claustrophobic. I think that those are the kinds of things we probably would try to avoid out of a PowerWash Simulator job, just because we want it to be nice and for people to have fun and sort of reveal something really pristine and new and nice looking at the end of it all. So yeah, I don't think those jobs fit the bill. Exactly.
I mean, it's interesting because I look at, if you look down, way down, there's There's a labyrinth that's got like 100 votes on it, and like ghost stuff. I think there's been discussions before about like how you'd ever like fit horror into the game without compromising the satisfaction. Like in what you were saying as well. Like, I mean, a funeral home is like more clear cut because it's just maybe too real. Don't know if that's
yeah.
I don't know if you.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's not something that I would like throw out, the idea of like a labyrinth and trying to get some more mystery sort of elements into the game. But I think people come to PowerWash to switch off and to just have some sort of thoughtless fun without having to worry. So the most worry that you should be having is when you're trying to hunt down those last couple objects and not trying to like make your way out of a infinite labyrinth of
an infinite labyrinth
twists and turns, you know. So yeah,
could you imagine you're having to clean whilst escaping the Minotaur that's you know, wandering the halls?
Yeah. So I see Breaking Bad Meth Lab. We can't like the RV level in the game is like at least in some small part kind of based off that Breaking Bad RV.
The color was actually changed, wasn't it? Because it was not as satisfying before because it was like just a very generic RV color.
Yeah, we've done a lot of the vehicles at that point had been covered in sort of dark dirt. So we wanted to do something different with the RV. You can take.
Sure, I'll just go. Yeah, I'll just go to the level. I think it might kick you out again. I think going between free play and.
Yeah, so we thought with the RV we'd try and make it a bit lighter and try put some dusts and I think sand and stuff on there. Yeah, it's quite sandy, isn't it? So
sorry,
even that, I think
my
even
game is open.
the
If you do
idea
want
to
to
put
jump in.
sandy dirt on the RV probably came from something like Breaking Bad. This idea that this RV had been out on a quest in the desert, and that's why it had gotten so dirty. But yeah, we found out that the sort of creamy color that it initially had was just not as satisfying. If you can imagine, we've sort of got this creamy looking sand, and then to be revealing a creamy looking van underneath just wasn't as nice. So we decided to make it cream. So yeah, Breaking Bad Meth Lab van, really good idea. We already kind of did it.
We've got like 4 minutes left, so if anyone has any questions in the chat on Twitch, or you have anything that you've noticed on there, Nick, that's taken your eye that you want to break down again with your brutal design eye. No, I'm joking.
Am I brutal?
No, you're not brutal at all. I'm joking. Were you on the original like panel with Dan looking at the other lot?
No, I didn't think I was.
Last time. Okay. Or was it just Dan and Dave maybe shortlisting? I don't know who did it last time, to be honest.
Yeah. A mega yacht, that's a cool idea. International Space Station. Yeah, it's something where we've like wrestled with for a while, this idea of like doing some more stuff in space, but with those kind of jobs it's not as simple as just kind of making it. We would need to like make some sort of space traversal mechanics as well to suit it. So yeah, a few extra things that would be needed to make something like that work. But yeah, like space stations have like really cool like paneling and solar features and dishes and stuff. All that kind of stuff I think would be really cool for a PowerWash level. What else have we got? I saw a zoo. I think that's a really cool idea. Something like a tennis court. I see that one. See, like that could be good. Just something simple, flat to clean. But then I would have to start to think about like how could you split that up? Like, would it just be one big flat surface to clean, or would you like split it up into like the different lines and areas of a normal tennis court? Like, I don't know if you know, Josh, like what you have, like that back half, and then you have the two squares that are
I don't know
close
what
to
they're
the
called.
net, and yeah, like you could split it up that way. Yeah,
I suppose then you'd only have a few parts because there's like 4 pieces of each side, so 8 pieces of each court. I don't know.
yeah. I see a few like ideas here, like the Mega Yacht, the A380, and I think the game does not have enough like aerial stuff and like water stuff. So any sort of like vehicle ideas for different kinds of aircraft and sea craft, I would love to see, because we definitely want more of that kind of stuff in the game.
This one keeps coming up. The inside of a mouth. People really want to clean teeth or
the inside of a mouth, yeah, like shrink down and
I don't know. I know that I've talked to Dan before about the like humans / animals, or like real like biological things are kind of a no-no, or at least I don't know if you've.
We certainly have avoided to try and wash like anything organic. We don't want you to like wash like a real life horse or something, because like that's a bit weird. So something like a mouth, cleaning the inside of a mouth could be a challenge. But also it's a really cool idea, so maybe we could make it work somehow. But yeah, something to ponder for sure.
Cool. Anyway, that's pretty much our time, unless you have anything you want to sneak in, Nick.
Don't think so. Somebody said an old Concorde jet. That's a cool idea. Tough thing with ideas like that is I don't know if there's like, we have to figure out if like somebody owns the rights to the Concorde jet design, and we have to like figure out whether we can do something like that or adapt it. But yeah. Anyway. Again, thank you so much for coming along, all. I really appreciate all your comments, and I love talking about the game. I have a lot of fun working on it. So I'm just glad that you're all playing it and enjoying it. And as I said earlier, I can't wait for you guys to try all the new levels when they come out. And keep your ideas coming. I love ideas for PowerWash levels. I'm really glad we're doing this. I only found out that we were doing this today. And
did you literally find out when I messaged you?
Pretty much, yeah. And I can't wait to see what kinds of ideas people come up with. I know that a few of the first and the second time, like the last couple times we've done these things, like level ideas have come out of that. I'm pretty sure the gnome fountain was one, and
well, it's a gnome fountain
truck.
Well, actually, people don't know that. I mean, not that it matters, just that there were some levels that were suggested. Yeah, the monster truck was one of the suggestions, but we were making it anyway. So we were there like... Yeah. But in the same way, I think there's some levels in development that were in the last lot, without spoiling too much, because there were like thousands of suggestions. But interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there'll be more made that don't make it into the cut in this new vote that may be made in the future anyway, because that's just, there's so many good ideas out there, and then maybe things that we're already working on / thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'd wash anything for that sweet thing. Yep. That's what it's all about. This guy gets it. Fluffy steaks. He or she gets it.
Cool.
When's the next update? I'm not. I don't think we've announced it.
No, there's no dates. There's nothing announced just yet. Just again, thanks for Nick coming along. He's one of the designers. Obviously talking about the levels he's been working on today, and hopefully we'll have more devs on in the next few weeks. Maybe Nick again, depending on whether show what he's working off on next time, probably not next time, but hope everyone has an amazing day. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to put your suggestions for maps into the Discord, and the design team will be shortlisting those at some point. There's probably going to be more than last time. There's more probably now even than there was before, but yeah, It'll be fun.
All of the ideas.
All of the ideas. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to hit that rate button in 3, 2, 1.
Bye.